So today we're sitting with Don Juan Augusta Jr. Augusta Jr. You're just gonna keep correcting me. AKA DJ, who just published his book Unlocking Southeast Asia. And to me, it's a travel guide as well as a personal memoir.
Yes.
About your life and your journey through Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand,
Right.
and then the in-betweens, right? I feel like this book, it just brings about so much change in your life. And I know, guaranteed, that it will help someone else. It will help someone. And then we also get a little something about your self-discovery, your growth throughout this book. So I'm excited to dive in. And you started off with a conversation in Trinidad.
Right.
So you went Southeast Asia, but you had this conversation in Trinidad.
Yes.
So we want to know what this conversation was about and why it made you make that change.
So it all started at a party at one of my friends' cousins' home. Nice little house party,
Yeah.
and there was just this woman who stood out to me out of everyone. And we got into a conversation. Her name was Shayna Green.
Mhm.
And we started chatting, and she told me basically about the life she was living in Asia for the last couple of years.
Mhm.
And that's all that it took
Yeah.
for me to be interested, to find out, investigate, and then 6 months later.
Yes. Big up Shayna.
Yeah, Shayna, you get triggered.
Big up yourself. And okay, so throughout this journey of transformation, what is part of that journey? What was that one moment that like changed your perspective on life and travel? Like what really made you realize that wow, this is something that really changed my life?
And I mean, I feel like my life is always changing
Yes.
since I've been here. But
Yeah.
I feel the level of not only independence, but just the level of resilience,
Yes.
being confident in yourself that no matter where you go or wherever I am in the world, all of these lessons that I've learned and all these experiences that I've had, it's equipped me to just be wherever I am and know that I can get by.
Yes.
I know that I can function.
Yes.
I don't have to worry, and I just know it has led me to just be resilient.
Yeah, because for sure in the book you've talked about a lot of things that you've experienced, and I feel like a lot of people can't relate to that. So the fact that you've experienced it, you share what happened to you, it could help someone else.
Well, that's the goal, that was the purpose of the book in the first place.
Yes,
so
love that. So there was this thing you talked about called the U curve.
Right.
I couldn't really relate to it besides in relationships, because I feel like in relationships you have your honeymoon stage,
Right.
and then you have the stage where you're just like, okay, I'm comfortable now,
Right.
or he snores, oh gosh, he keeps scratching, he boomsy, these different things, so that U curve is always existed in a relationship. But then you compared that U curve to travel and experiences. So I feel like just break that down a little bit for us to understand those moments of discomfort, realization after your honeymoon stage.
Right.
You come now to that discomfort, and what advice would you give to others who reach that discomfort stage now?
That's a real good question, boy. For me, it's a matter of, you've experienced all the highs of, I'm in Vietnam now, like everything is new. I'm in Asia, but then, the reality really hits for me, it took probably like about a month or two.
Wow.
Until I'm like, oh gosh, I'm in a real different place now.
Yes.
Everything different, the food, the culture.
Exactly.
For me, the main thing that I would have learned or understood how to deal with it at that point in time is just really just first of all being calm.
Yes.
You does really just have to go within and just
breathe
and just remind yourself that you're on our journey here. You're here for a purpose.
Yes.
And even though you're still figuring out the purpose, you have to understand that you can't expect everything to be rosy.
Yeah.
Dealing with people from all over the world, dealing with a different culture, you're going and have these different interactions, places that you go, learning customs, learning how to behave, how to act. Yeah, it hits you very quickly, but I would say the main reason or the time when I felt the most uncomfortable was my communication, being able to like speak and be understood. So, quick story, like I was talking full Trini for like the
You
first
can't do
3 months,
that.
the first 3 months, and nobody gonna understand me.
Of
You know,
course.
nobody understand me.
Of course.
So it kind of frustrated me a little bit. So I had to
Oh.
like kind of train my mind to
Yeah.
calm down and speak a bit slower.
Yes.
And the next 3 months now, I realized that, all right, this working, people understanding me. But where the dilemma came in was I didn't like the way I would hear myself talking. So that was like the main.
Did you feel like you were losing your accent?
I feel like I was putting on an accent.
Right.
Like it wasn't about losing, it was having to fake it, you know. And
Right.
when I really realized how bad it was when I was talking to my friends back home.
Yeah.
I did just come out of class, and when I started talking, they started laughing at me. They was like, boy, who you is?
Yeah.
So then when I catch myself, and I was like, wait.
Yeah.
This had to change.
Yes.
So the next 3 months, I spent that time like trying to keep my accent, but still be able to speak a bit more international.
Yeah.
And that's where I kind
That
of
takes
found
time.
the sweet spot.
That takes time, eh?
So there was a lot of U-curves taking place of
Yeah,
discomfort, like
boy.
within the first 2 months. But then for that year, it was just training your mind and coming back to yourself.
Yes.
That's what it all comes down to, coming back to self.
Because you could lose yourself being so far from home. You're immersed in an entirely different culture.
Yeah.
You could change everything about yourself in that moment. So that was, that's some strong mental work there that you had to deal with. Okay, speaking of like strong moments, you talked about this visa hiccup. Like for me, that first of all, that sounds scary. That sounds like a terribly scary experience, especially if you're alone, right? So you had this visa hiccup, and I feel like you did a great job, by the way. So, like, please tell us what that experience was like, and how did you value that moment?
Well, boy, that was one of them moments where I mean, I learned that being spontaneous could either make you or break you. But one thing I learned from that was not having the information, and not doing my own research. So at that point in time, you would hear everyone that I was working with who were not from Trinidad. So visa rules are different for every country.
Yes.
But everyone would just say, I'll just go to Thailand and do a visa run. Thailand. So I was like, all right, well, I go in Thailand. So I booked my ticket. I was like, all right, let me go. And that was the first time, to be honest with you, in my years of traveling when I didn't pay attention to like visa regulations and the visa laws.
Right.
So, in the airport I get brace.
Of course.
She told me, nah, you can't get on this flight. But back then you needed a visa in advance.
Right.
The rules have now changed.
Yeah.
Trini nationals could come in Thailand.
Yes. 60 days.
Visa free 60 days.
Yeah.
You could extend for another 30 days.
Yes.
So you get 90 days.
Yes.
But in 2019, you needed to do that in advance. So this was the first time I looked at like visa requirements for my country.
Yeah.
And I saw all the countries in the world that I can go visa free.
Right.
And the closest country was Cambodia. So I just booked a ticket to Cambodia in the airport.
Oh, wow.
And I went to Cambodia.
That's crazy to me. A lot of people would not have thought of that. A lot of people would panic, freak out, and head back home.
Well, I mean, visa runs is necessary. So if your visa up and you didn't want to be on the blacklist, so I had to think real quick. Yeah.
I love that. But honestly, my heart was like beating. I'd have been so scared.
I mean, again, just had to be calm, boy.
I know. So on a personal level, you told me you went back to Trinidad. This was like last month, right? And I feel like, first of all, you didn't go back home in
about 5 to 6 years.
That's a long time. So this would now be a culture switch shock, right? Because you're going back home after so long, and then now you have to readjust to that life in Trinidad again from coming from Southeast Asia. So the question is, what surprised you the most when you had to do that readjusting visit in Trinidad?
I would say the most shocking thing would have been like all the new highways and
Yes.
the absence of all the traffic lights, all the construction that would have taken place.
Yeah.
There's so many new buildings, new businesses, new money.
Yeah. Oh, yes. So you didn't get to experience the new
No,
money. That is crazy.
I think I got the $100
Okay.
when they did that, but I didn't see
Everything
everything else.
No.
New license, like I had
That's
the old
funny.
license.
Okay.
And for me, it was just like getting back into like the food, getting back into like the culture, you know,
Yeah.
like hearing the familiar accents, the familiar sounds, music on the radio, especially during the carnival season.
Yes.
So it was just nice to come back, and yes, everything is different,
Mhm.
but it was good differences, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't have to readjust too much,
Mhm.
except with getting lost, taking the wrong exits
Yes.
on all these roundabouts
Yes.
and highway constructions. But
Yeah.
apart from that, it was just fun, man. Like
Yeah.
it was a good reverse culture shock. You know?
Good. That's nice. I love that. But for me, I would feel like, oh, this was here, but then now it's here, and I'm just like, you would
Sammy
be.
Gyro. Oh gosh, no, Sammy's on
Don't
pizza now.
start with the Sammy Gyro now. Yeah, I totally understand. That's crazy. In your book, we talk about a lot of advice. You have personal stuff and theoretical stuff, right? So a lot of people read in it because I want beginners to read it. When I say beginners, I mean like first-time travelers to read this book. And I feel like they may be hesitant, could be like, oh gosh, but this fella travels so much. I've never traveled before.
Right.
How is this beneficial to me? So one thing that you can tell those first-time travelers, if they read your book, what's the one wisdom that they can gain from it?
The one wisdom I would say is honestly discovery and resilience.
Yes.
Like, you know, this is not for everybody, you know.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't have an adventurous spirit or
That's true.
a spirit of wanting to go beyond borders or go beyond things that they've never known or experienced before. So
That's true.
if I could just inspire one person to just be a little discoverytive or just be curious about what else it have out there, you know. And I mean, even be curious to this side of the world, because obviously our diaspora, we stay on the north.
Yeah.
Well, sorry, the west. We stay to the west and we go to, you
Like
know, the
North
Englands,
America.
the Canadas and the Americas, and you know, that's as far as we see. So I just want people to understand that this side of the world exists. Not that they don't know, but just to come away knowing that it is possible for anyone to fly anywhere.
It's available to
It's
us.
available, and with our visa and our passport as well, it does allow us entry to many countries over here.
Yes.
And be prepared for long haul flights. That's if you really decide to do it.
I think that's one of the other things too, because a lot of people like 10 hours on a flight.
10, that good. I go take a 10 hours.
But even that, right? 10 hours is going to Europe. So imagine 24 to come on this side, you know. So sometimes people just have to adjust the mind a little bit. Don't think about the hours, but think about, okay, when I reach there, the joy and the experiences that I will have will wash away that 24 hours I spend traveling.
And I would say the most important thing, like apart from being able to be curious and discover, you know, a lot of people make money an issue. I don't know if it's a term, but I call it monetary fear. And you know, for me, when I was first leaving, like I wasn't rolling in dough. You know, I didn't have all the money in the world, but I just had a plan and a vision, and I was seeing myself in
manifested
Vietnam.
You being here.
And you know, with that, like I did a barbecue. I was like, you know what, boy, like I had to make some money. Because when I came to Vietnam, I only had around about $1,000 in my pocket, and that was it.
Crazy.
You know, I emptied out my bank account because it was a big expense to jump first.
Of course.
But that's where I had to like restart everything about my life. And you know, money shouldn't be an issue. You know, if you want something, there's so much ways that you can do it. So
I agree.
That's my next
takeaway.
Yeah.